to me what you mean by underground American dream.
Finally, there was an opportunity that I could pursue a higher education, earn a college degree. And that moment changed my life forever.
Plus,
2013, that's when I started falling in love with this woman.
And T.D. Jakes the explosive. Never told me that.
I'm T.D. Jakes. Wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How nice. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're talking about the moments in people's lives that are transformational. I mean, game-changing, enlightening, life-altering, devastating, inspirational, or aspirational. The moments, I believe, that can change all of the rest. That's why I do the show. I love meeting people where they are and taking them where they need and want to be. And in the process, we learn things about each other that help us with our own lives. For example, my first guest, they're sisters, Katie and Lizzie, who were adopted by two different families a lifetime ago. They searched high and low for each other, but Katie says she never in her wildest dreams ever thought that she'd meet her older sister, totally by chance, 3 years ago, in a Columbia University writing class. Please welcome Lizzie and Katie. How you doing?
Great
Welcome
to
to the show.
Hi.
Hi, come on in. Have a seat. Welcome to the show. So, Lizzie, tell us about that day you all first met your sister 3 years ago. What was that like?
At the time, it was just totally surprising and caught me completely off guard. I was a student at Columbia University, and I'm relatively older for a student, but I decided to go back to college to pursue my dream of being a poet after the birth of my daughter. I wanted to be a positive role model.
Had you noticed Katie before?
I had,
Like in the class?
It was the first day of class.
Okay,
We had met one time before without having any knowledge.
Yeah, we met at a faculty reading. We were both picked to introduce professors, and we actually I went right before you, I think. And the way we approached it was so different. I remember thinking Lizzie was wearing this vintage Valentino dress, and I was wearing a Goonies t-shirt. And I just remember thinking, I need to dress better. This girl has got it figured out.
And she was super funny, and I remember being like, oh, I was so nerdy about this, and I probably could have cracked a joke or two.
So there was a mutual fascination right off the top. Still not knowing that you were sisters.
We didn't know that. We spoke briefly for a moment and then went our separate ways.
Wow.
And then fast forward to a semester later, it's the first day of class, and we were seated directly across from one another. And then, as occurs in many, first classes, you introduce yourself, say a little bit about your history, and Katie went first, and she was very funny, and she said she was a stand-up comic, and she, was immediately the coolest girl in class.
Okay.
And then it went all the way around, and then I just said a little bit about my biography, and I mentioned that my daughter was the first relative of mine that I had ever met. And she put those pieces together, and she realized it.
As I'm sitting there, I'm listening to her say, she said, I'm adopted and I'm from Florida. I have a daughter who's, this many years old. I run a children's boutique. And I knew all these things were true of her from looking for her. And I'm just sitting there can this really be happening?
Yeah.
And at one point, I just had an Oprah-style aha moment.
Right, okay.
And Lizzie said later it looked like I was having a panic attack, but
Totally did.
It's Columbia, so people have panic attacks all the time.
Right.
So but I was, and I didn't want to be stop the class, we're related,
Right.
I waited until after class, and then I went up to her, and I was really trying not to sound like a crazy person. That was my number one goal.
Right.
Because she seemed semi-normal at the time.
Right.
So I went up and I was like, was your last name ever Delgado? And she said,
I was like, yeah. And I'm thinking she looks so young that she's traditional student age. And I have a little sister I was raised with. So as she's like, did you grow up in New Jersey? And is your last name Delgado? And I was like, oh my gosh, do you know my sister?
Wow.
And
And I was like, no, I am your sister.
I don't just know her, I am her. So, Katie, have you met the rest of the family, the extended family?
Not yet. I've met some of them, and I'm open to meeting my father, but I haven't really started, the process of looking for him.
Is that scary?
It kind of is. I feel like I was raised by a single mom, so I think meeting my father would actually probably be even more emotionally fraught and loaded than even meeting, my birth mother, actually. So, and also I don't know what's going on in his life now, and I don't want to show up and be like, hey, guess who's coming to dinner?
Right.
Like I don't want to be a surprise to his family.
You want to warn him a little bit.
Yeah.
Send up a flare or something. I'm coming in a minute.
Right, a bat signal.
You told our producers that you had a question for me. What was that?
One of my questions was actually how to approach people in my extended family who may or may not want to meet and who may want to remain private. Because I have actually like zero boundaries in my life. I'm a comedian, so everything's a joke to me. So I'm just wondering how to, respect people's feelings and things like that.
I think giving them an exit clause in the invitation would be helpful. Send them an email and say, I'd like to connect with you. I think that we're related, or I'm sure that we're related. I realize you didn't plan on me. I may not fit into your life. If this makes you uncomfortable, don't respond. If you do, let me know. I'd like to set up some time and talk to you. Because sometimes when people are face to face with you, it's harder to tell the truth. When we get behind a computer, we say what we really think, good, bad, or indifferent, and that way you don't waste the time of going through the traumatic experience of being on trial like you're trying out to be good enough to be a part of their family. Is that good? Yeah. I got me one good amen back there in the back. Lizzie, what was your question?
I think when this story got attention, it was incredible the amount of people, adoptees, who are still looking for their loved ones and who reached out with, feelings of that they had restored hope, or that it gave them the courage to seek these relationships, because it's been super positive for us. And after this story became public, I'm a person who's normally kind of private, and I feel a responsibility, especially given the climate of serious sadness that's surrounding all of us. And I live in a community just outside of Paterson, New Jersey, where I've met so many people who have blended families, and I've spoken to them. My partner and I operate a bar in Haledon, and so people were coming in and just pouring their hearts out to me about their adoption stories.
It happens to me too. A woman in the street came up to me and was like, I spoke to my mother for the first time in 5 years because I read your story, and she started crying right in the middle of the street, and I'm like, I'm used to laughter. I don't know what to do with this.
I want to know the best way to use this to help other people, and this incredible blessing, I think, is like much larger than the two of us, and I want to honor that as best as I can.
One of the ways is what you're doing right now. Tell your story. Get out there and tell your story. Give people voice. So many people can't talk about this. They can't talk about being adopted, or they can't talk about being estranged from their family. In the sense of privacy, they think that privacy is prison. And so they incarcerate their story and then live with the loneliness of nobody knowing who you really are. Your courage is a witness. Your presence is a witness. Your laughter is a witness that you can tell your story and still smile. Some people, they have spent years just managing their secrets. So just come out and talk to them, and that is a message. There's also doing blogs. There's also the possibility of doing books. There's all kinds of ways to spread the word, get your message out, go out there, go on a speaking tour, and sign some books, and make some money, and go to Paris.
That would be good.
That would be good. See that? Send me 10%.
Yeah, we got to pay those Columbia student loans back. And
got to pay those student loans?
We definitely need that student loan.
Oh, listen, I got 5 kids. They got student loans, and I got them too. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you so much. Listen, if you have an amazing reunion story, I want to hear about it. Head on over to tdjakeshow.com and tell me all about it. We'll be right back. Yeah, I'm coming up.
Like,
You was in love with me then.
I wasn't in love with
Giving Teeny Jakes the exclusive. Never told me that.
Of course. I'm T.D. Jakes. Today, we're talking about moments in your life that can change your absolute destiny. My next guest, Julissa Arce, was a high school senior hiding in plain sight. She was at the top 5 percentile of her class, but without proper documentation, she had no way to pursue a college degree. Now, 16 years later, she's living the American dream. I want to share her story with you.
Hi, my name is Julissa Arce, and I am an American citizen. But that wasn't always the case. I was born in Mexico, and I came to live in the US when I was 11 years old on a tourist visa. Later, that visa expired. And although I went to school and I got excellent grades, I lived with the stigma of the illegal immigrant. I feared for my future. Would I be able to get a job? Would I get deported, let alone go to college? But today, I have defied the odds. I graduated from college and went on to have a successful career on Wall Street. I have now written a book called My Underground American Dream in the hopes of inspiring other undocumented immigrants and Americans that there's always a way.
Yes. It doesn't get any better than that. I want you to welcome Julissa Arce, who's a writer, immigrant, rights activist, and author of My Underground American Dream. Wow.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Explain to me what you mean by underground American dream.
Yeah, so for 15 years, I lived in the shadows. I lived afraid that on any given day I could be deported, and that's the reality that undocumented people live in. So I had to achieve the American dream really in the underground and in the shadows.
Initially, you didn't know that you were undocumented. Explain how that happened.
I came here when I was 11 on a tourist visa, and when I was 14, my visa expired. And I talk about in the book of the moment that my mom revealed to me that I was undocumented. And I didn't really understand what that meant, but I was a child, right? I was 14 years old when I found out that I was undocumented.
All of your dreams and aspirations about college and a normal American life was compromised by that reality, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, because none of those things were guaranteed, right? And they never are guaranteed for anybody, right? You still have to work really hard to achieve all of those things. But for me, there was the extra layer of you're undocumented.
So every time you tried to apply to go to college, what happened?
Every time I got the little envelope in the mail, which we all know what that means, the little envelope.
The little envelope is no good. You want the big envelope.
Exactly. The little envelope meant you're getting rejected. And it wasn't because my grades weren't high enough or because I hadn't applied myself in school. It was because of my lack of a 9-digit Social Security number.
When you first found out that there was a program coming out of Texas that would do it, how did that feel?
It really was such a beautiful moment, not just for me, but for my entire family. That finally there was an opportunity that I could pursue a higher education, that I could take the next step in my American dream, which was to earn a college degree. And that moment changed my life forever.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a fellow minority, I'm fascinated that you talked about being underground. It makes me think of the Underground Railroad. Is that what that feels like?
Absolutely. And, there are things that a lot of people take for granted. This isn't an undocumented thing. This is to your point, a minority thing, right? I was afraid to drive because I didn't have a driver's license. So every time I got behind the wheel of a car, I was afraid of getting pulled over. But guess what? There are people who are born in this country who, because of the color of their skin, they have to be afraid to drive and getting pulled over. So that's not, I think the story I tell in my book is not just an undocumented story, it's an American story.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're fighting from the ground up, against all odds, trying to be something, trying to do something with your life. You finally get this opportunity, you do get to go to college. You come out of you excelled in an amazing way. So this notion of undocumented people are rapists and killers, and that's not true.
It's not true. It's a rhetoric that's really dangerous. And, you know, I can tell you that there isn't a single person in this audience or who's watching at home that would leave their family behind, walk through a desert, come across oceans, risk their very lives to come and then get on welfare and then just get by. Right. Because if all we wanted to do was to just get by, we would have stayed where we were.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like that's not what
I've never heard it expressed that way. So you are coming for hope, you are coming for possibilities, you're coming to do something with your life. You did some amazing things. Let's talk a little bit about what happened to you. How does a girl who walked through the desert, went through all of that chaos, or people like that, you represent them, and then find yourself on Wall Street?
Yeah. You know, so the first thing I'll say is that I came here on a plane, and I think a lot of people, you know, think that all undocumented immigrants cross the border, and some of us didn't. But you're right that, you know, I represent them, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud to do that. The very first thing I did was to do the work, as I said, right? I had to earn all of that. I had to work really hard. Once I had an internship at Goldman Sachs, then I was the first one there, the last one to leave. I wrote handwritten thank you notes to all the people that I worked with. I asked smart questions. You know, I went above and beyond in order to stand out and to earn my spot there. And by the time I was 27 years old, I was the vice president at Goldman Sachs. And
wow.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and for me, I think what my journey has taught me is that there's always a way. That if you put all of yourself into your goals, into your dreams, into your aspirations, that it is possible. Despite the challenges, it is possible to achieve your dreams.
Wow, that's exciting. Isn't that beautiful? Listen, stay with us right after the break. I've got some more questions for her. In 2014, she got to vote as an American citizen. I'm going to ask her about that when we come back. Amazing. Amazing. Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Julissa Arce. We're learning so much about her. She's a writer, immigrant rights activist, and the author of My Underground American Dream. You became a citizen in 2014 after going through literally hell and high water, proving yourself exceedingly abundantly above so many other people in order to get to that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. You have a dream for your family and for your life, and I want to hear you tell us what that is.
Yeah, you know, and my dream is really a dream for this country and a dream for the people in this country. I started a scholarship fund to give access to opportunities to more immigrants, to young undocumented immigrants who want to pursue a higher education. For me, the American dream is that everybody has access to equal opportunity. Nobody's asking for a handout. We're just asking for an opportunity. And that is my dream, that everybody who wants to get a college education can, that their immigration status, or their family's income level, that those aren't the things that determine their future. And that is my dream for this country.
You know, when you think about that, you have not only captured our fascination, but you also caught the attention of America Ferrara. Let's talk about that and how she decided she wanted to participate or partner with you.
Yeah, America has been such an amazing partner, and I am so excited to share that we are developing my book into a television series.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited.
That's great.
Yeah. I can't wait to see just an amazing Latina woman being portrayed as something other than what we normally see on television.
Right.
Because, you know, what we see on television definitely influences us, and it influences our perceptions. And so, to your point, putting a face to these issues, I think will help the conversation, and it'll help to talk about immigrants in a different way, because, you know, at the end of the day, I am a person just like everybody else, and I have dreams and ambitions and aspirations just like everybody else.
I get it. You get it? What, in your mind, you've gone through the system, been raised in this country, went from undocumented to documented, to Wall Street, went through college, got your degree, getting ready to vote for the first time, looking back down the road at thousands of people who are living in the shadows of our country with dreams like you. What do we need to do to fix this problem? And is it possible to fix it and still control our borders? Because to me, this is just my view, to not control your borders is like leaving your doors open at night. How can we be safe and still be fair and create a policy and plan that is welcoming to people that are diverse?
Yep. The very first thing is that by keeping people in the shadows, we don't know then who they are. Right? And that's the first thing we want to know. That's the first argument I always hear. Who are these people that are in our country? Well, by creating a line, a path for them to get right with the law, as President Obama says, well, then we're bringing them out of the shadows and we can know who they are. We're not asking that people become American citizens tomorrow. We are saying, can we create a process, a line for them to go through that process so that they can become American citizens, right? And then to your point about the border, creating a wall is not going to solve our problem because, yeah, it's not, because, as I said, for me, I never crossed that border. Right? And 40% of the undocumented people in this country have lived in the U.S. for an average of 10 years and paid taxes and got here on some sort of visa that then expired. And I think the other thing to remember is that immigration is not just a Latino-only issue. It's not just an issue about the U.S. and Mexico border. Right? There are undocumented Europeans and undocumented Caribbeans and Africans. And so we've got to have a broader conversation and realize that there isn't just one border.
This is an amazing conversation. I'm glad our country is trying to have it, though it is uncomfortable sometimes, depends on who gets the mic. But this is also an amazing woman who has an amazing story that's in books. It's about to be on film. Congratulations for that. The book is called My Underground American Dream. She brought enough books so that the whole audience can go home with your copy. Yes. Be like, oh, you get a book, 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 yes! Everybody else has to go to the store and get the book. Coming up, her life changed in a matter of minutes. Find out how one man's love for his lady lit up the internet. Meet the couple behind the hashtag Forever Duncan when we come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to do it. Hey, everybody, we are talking about moments in a person's life that can absolutely change the rest. Sherelle says her husband shocked her with his surprise proposal and same-day wedding. Their love story has been viewed online by over 20 million people worldwide, and you're about to see it too. Take a look.
I want you to go get your mommy, run Renny, okay? Don't say nothing to her. Don't tell her what's going on. Just tell her that you like her.
What is going on?
And I take this moment in front of everybody that we love to ask you, will you please be my wife? We are going to have an amazing day here. Go to that location and ask for that young lady.
You know, I have a new collection that's getting ready to come out, right? And I needed a fit model.
Okay.
To wear a very elegant, untouchable type of jaunt. So
love is on the way. Soon she will be here, showing us the way.
I sure will take you out, bro.
I sure will take you
Help
out.
me see it clear.
To be my wedded husband.
To be my wedded husband.
And I do promise it.
Husband.
Yeah, I need these words clear.
Okay. Husband.
By the authority committed unto me as a minister of the gospel, I declare that Alfred and Sherelle are now husband.
Please welcome Alfred and Sherelle. Wow. Alfred, you have set the bar so high. What in the world are the rest of us going to do? How did you come up with this idea?
You know, I've known that this was going to be my wife for some time now. We had been practicing abstinence for the entire year. We went to marriage counseling, so she knew that we were going to get married. But, you know, with the proposal, I think every man wants an element of surprise. But she knew it was coming, so I was like, I got to do something different. And there's no point in us waiting. I know that I want her to be my wife, so let's just do all of that in one day and get it over with.
Yes!
Yes! Sherelle, did you have any idea?
No, I didn't. I had no idea that any of this was supposed to happen at all.
What does it mean to a woman for a man to ask her to marry her?
He didn't ask me to marry him. He asked me to be his wife. And so that was everything to me. I had been waiting for that forever. So it was everything.
Yeah. We could kind of tell you were sort of happy about all of it. You know, what was the biggest moment of the day for the two of you?
The biggest moment was when they took the blindfolds off and I saw my dad. Because he had been listening to me the entire time, this entire time we've been together. I literally just wanted to go to the Justice of the Peace. I'm like, let's just get this over with. We've been practicing abstinence. I'm done with this. We're done with premarital classes. Let's just go to the Justice of the Peace. I told him the only things that I wanted, the only desires of my heart that I thought was, I want my dad to give me away, and I want my granny to be alive to see it. When they took the blindfolds off and I saw my dad in a suit, mind you, my father wears T-shirt and shorts all year round.
And slippers.
And slippers. And
that's messed up at the bottom.
That's messed up at the bottom. My father was laid out in a suit, and I just, yes, that's him.
And funny enough, he called me probably 2 or 3 days before. He was like, hey, man, I just want to let you know that this suit didn't set me back like $500.
He wanted his money back. He wanted his money back.
So how does it feel for you to have this kind of jubilation and excitement over just you?
So a lot of people are looking at the wedding, and understandably so. All of this is just extra. I just wanted this beautiful woman to be my wife.
You got me, you got me, you got me, you got me. You got me,
yes. Okay. Since, I'll tell you what, since there's nobody here but us, how you like being married?
I love it. We just look at each other sometimes and I'm like, you're my husband. Oh my gosh. Because I have been waiting for this. I never wanted to be married before I met him.
Okay.
But 2 weeks, like, our story is so significant. When we went on our first date and we rode bikes. And it was just he didn't spend any money on me. This ain't have no money. I didn't have any money. You had a few dollars, but you didn't have Ruth Chris and all that. You didn't have that.
You're right.
So
I didn't have it.
we just rode bikes, and then we actually rode into a baseball field. And that day, I fell in love with him. If he would have asked me to marry him that day, I would have said yes. So now that we got a chance to get to know one another, our deepest, darkest secrets, and to know that he still loves me no matter what, I'm just in awe of this.
That's amazing.
I just want to add to it, because like I said, the story is a lot deeper than just the wedding. I've known this woman for years, like I knew of her. She was very popular in our area. Well, fast forward to 2013, that's when I started falling in love with this woman. Prior to us even knowing each other physically. Like,
You was in love with me then?
I wasn't in love with you.
You giving T.D. Jakes the exclusive. You never told me this.
Of course. I'm T.D. Jakes. What do you expect?
So yeah, it was.
You was in love with me then.
You had it in the bag and didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it,
See
bitch.
what I'm saying?
So yeah, the story is amazing, man, and yeah, I'm just happy that I have her in my life.
What's next for the two of you?
For real, man.
It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, we don't know what's next tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right.
Everything has been just, like you said, how is marriage? To be honest with you, we haven't gotten to the nuts and bolts of marriage because ever since we got married, we've been whisked to this place and to that place and, you know.
You haven't settled yet.
Exactly. So, you know, she hasn't gotten mad at me about, we haven't been home, so she ain't arguing with me about taking out the trash. Like,
yeah.
I'm not getting that yet.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah?
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah?
It's coming, yeah.
I'm gonna have to tell you to take the trash out.
You may, it happens.
It may start here. Feel free. The very best of luck to the both of you. Give it up for my guests. We're so glad to have you here. And to my television audience coming up, find out how the kindness of one teenage boy to another sparked a viral sensation that's captivated the hearts of millions across the country when we come back. We're back, everybody. We're back and we're talking about moments in every person's life that changes the rest. My next guest knows all too well what paying it forward means. What started as a gesture of generosity has grown into a viral sensation. Check this out.
I tell you this not for praise or anything. I'm just telling you because this is it's pretty intense.
Josette Duran's emotional Facebook Live video is getting a lot of attention. She's been packing her son's lunch and an extra one since the beginning of the school year because her son asked her to.
He said, "No, Mom, it's for this little boy at school," and he sits by himself, and all he eats is a fruit cup.
The school principal called Duran into the office because that little boy's mom found out Duran had been feeding her son.
She says, "I know this isn't much, but I just got a job, and I know you've been feeding my son."
Duran says she couldn't accept the single mother's money. The girls' volleyball team that Duran coaches also raised more than $400 to pay her back, but she took that money straight to the cafeteria.
We paid up all the past due accounts for all the kids that need lunch, right? So now no one in that school owes any lunch money to anybody, and everybody can eat.
Please welcome Josette. I'm so honored to have you here. Tell me, Josette, what was your reaction to your son's request?
I really didn't have a reaction to my son's request. He asked me to do it, and I just did it because, you know, I've taught him be nice to people, help people out, and so when he asked me to help this little boy out, I just did it.
Beautiful thing. You were at one time in a bad period in your own life. You were homeless. Did that experience in some way change or prepare you for what happened?
It did. I know what it's like to not have anything. I know what it's like for my son not to have anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get it. I get it. Now, don't start crying, because I will, too. And then we'll be just sitting here crying and rocking like two cats on the wall. Did you expect to get this type of reaction and from everybody pitching in with so much acts of kindness?
I did not. Until here recently, I started to embrace it. We were doing what's expected as a human. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't get, why are we such a big deal, you know? So that's our normal. That's how we're raised, and to help the next person. So I still don't see it.
Beautiful. I know the mom thanked you. What did she say to you, and how did it feel? Because you all had kind of been in the same place. What's that like?
You know, when you come across somebody that's been through your struggle, a simple look in the eye and a thank you, that's all we needed. And nothing else was said, and we just knew.
You know, I'm a father. I have children. I love my children. You love your children. What's it like when you can't feed your child?
At first, I felt bad, and I felt like a failure. And then I had to figure it out. And so you become superwoman. You become the person that you need to be to make sure that even if I went without eating, I was going to make sure that he didn't have to go without eating. So I did everything that I possibly could to make sure, because, you know, that's my baby. He needs some food.
Yeah, I get you. There are millions of kids in this country that go hungry every day, that sleep in shelters, under bridges, that get in a car tied up in human trafficking. What needs to happen to change this?
I feel we just got to have an open heart, and we've got to ask as parents, as back in the home, you know, are your friends okay? Are you okay? You know,
It's kind of like if we all get together, we could change things.
Help each other. It's human nature. We're supposed to.
Yeah. Certainly, there may be policies that need to be changed, priorities that need to be changed, but nothing needs to be changed like hearts.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for being a living example of a changed heart. We love you so much. Give her a big one, would you? Hey, everybody, up next, he posted a photograph of his neighborhood ice cream man and raised over $350,000. Find out how one moment can change the rest, and it did so for one 89-year-old man. Hey, everybody, we're back and we're talking about moments that can change the rest. Check out this photo. Joel posted this photo and raised $384,000 for his neighborhood ice cream man. Joel is joining us on Skype all the way from Chicago. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Nice to be here.
Hey, man, what prompted you to take this photo of Mr. Sanchez?
Well, I was at a red light and I seen him pushing his cart. He was crossing the street and I just seen him struggling. So I just felt that something made me take a picture of him. So I pulled over and I took a picture of him, and I jumped out. I bought him 20 popsicles and I gave him a $50. I told him to keep the change, and I put the picture on Facebook, and everybody started commenting about it. And one of my buddies named Joe Lara, he said we should start a GoFundMe page for him and help him take a day off. He was an old man, 89 years old, barely able to push his cart. And so we set up a GoFundMe account for a modest $3,000, and within half an hour we reached $5,000.
Wow. Were you surprised? Were you surprised when you posted the picture that you got 1 million views?
When I got the million views, absolutely. But at first, when I posted, I knew I had a powerful picture when I took it. And when I started seeing it getting all the hits, I knew we had something special here. But I was very surprised.
What did Mr. Sanchez say?
Well, the next day, he couldn't believe it. They were still in disbelief. The next day, when I woke up, it was up to $35,000 in the morning.
Wow. Wow.
So after that, we told him, I go, this is not a joke. This is real, because he didn't believe it. There was before I met him, they were showing him the GoFundMe page, and he said, no, that's not real. That's fake. that I didn't approve of it. So when the news, all the news from Chicago was there, and they were telling them that this was true, we met, and they were crying, and they were really grateful on how outpouring support of not only the community but from around the world.
How has it made you feel through just instinctive kindness that you did something, snapped a picture, let your heart move, and it changed someone's life?
You know what, Mr. Jakes? Josette said it best in your previous segment. We were raised like, aren't people supposed to be nice?
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it's dying breed of being nice. It made me feel absolutely wonderful that it went so viral. And it's kind of hard to believe that it did, because I guess we do so many nice things, I'm sure you have, and a lot of your audience have, that don't get captured.
Right.
And it shows you that you can use social media as a positive platform to help people. We got to use this platform to be nice to one another, to do nice things. And that's
absolutely. Joel, in my world, when a guy's talking that good, you say amen.
Amen.
Thank you for your support and your love and being such a fine example. Give it up one more time for Mr. Cervantes. We appreciate you.
Great.
Much love, brother. We'll be right back with TD's Take. Hey, everybody, we have been having an amazing conversation today about moments that can change the rest of a person's life. But I don't want you to sit around waiting, looking at your watch, waiting on the next great moment to come. Great moments don't come, they're made. They're made from ordinary moments and bad moments and depressing moments and frightening moments. It's not the moment that is as powerful as it is the person who possesses the moment. Because truly great people can take bad moments and see them as opportunities to do amazing things. I hope you do that. I hope you hear that. I hope you receive that. Not only that, but if you have a story to share about random acts of kindness, hit me up on Facebook or go to tdjakeshow.com and submit your story. Who knows? Maybe you can be the next guest right here on the TD Jakes Show. I want to thank all of my extraordinary guests for being here with me. Love you, love you, love you, and I love you too. And you. See you next time. I did it. Thank you. Thank you so much. You all were amazing. Thank you so much.